The Lone Ranger sold his wardrobe. The Lone Ranger sold his bad dog. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know, 'cause times change, I know.
On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say. On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say.
Come along, join the fun, in a world where adventure is never done. Every corner we turn, a new friend in tow. It's time to start the magic on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show. See the sights, so much to know. Across the lands, together we go. Hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode. the magic. On the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow. On the Globus Show, see the sights, so much to know. Across the land, together we go. Hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode. On the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow. On the Globus Show.
Yo. Guys, when you snap them down like that, that's the energy we.
Sorry.
Yeah. There's two places you can always stay for free. In your lane and the fuck out of my business. Believe me, no applications, no negotiations, no debate. Pick your destination before it's too damn late.
Yo, I built these boundaries from the bricks of bitter lessons. Every question mark's a weapon when you're flexing with conjecture. Lecture me about my trajectory, that's blasphemy. You mapping out my path when you can't find your own capacity. I navigate the labyrinth alone, autonomous zones, chromosome deep. The throne I seek is made of my own bones. Clones and drones pontificate on choices that they make, but they spectating from the bleachers while I'm diving in the lake. Check it, vacancy signs flashing in 2 locations. Mine, yours, or disappear, that's basic navigation. No explanation needed for the path that I be walking. You talking loud but saying nothing, now you're stalking. My business ain't your business, that's the thesis of this lecture. Spectators turn directors, trying hard to redirect the vexing back with red receipts when you asked about my moves. Got nothing left to prove to any fool who disapproves.
There's two places you can always stay for free. In your lane and the fuck out of my business. Believe me, no applications, no negotiations, no debate. Pick your destination before it's too damn late.
The audacity of mediocrity, trying to audit me oddity. They study my trajectory while lost at sea. Obviously, I'm operating on a different frequency. Decency would dictate distance, but you're dripping with the indecency. Apparently, you're helping with the weight of your perspective, but detective work on my life's worth that's subjective and ineffective, reflective of a mindset that can't focus on its own grind. So you climbing into my business like you trying to find gold mine. Witness how I'm moving, proving nothing to the jury. Fury fuels the foolish, I'm just cruising, never worried. Hurry movements from the peanut gallery. Got opinions, but minions can't dictate the vision when I'm winning my own scrimmage. Gimmicks and the critics talking reckless with predictions. Contradictions in your diction got me switching all positions. Fishing for a reason to engage with all your nonsense. Promise this your commentary can't afford the rent regardless.
There's two places you can always stay for free. In your lane and the fuck out of my business. Believe me, no application, no negotiations, no debate. Pick your destination before it's too damn late.
Cold signs, I don't need your 2 cents or your Yelp review. Help you now, help yourself to that exit. Something I can't help you through. Dwelling in my dwelling uninvited with your judgments. My assumptions about your assumptions. You're assuming too much, cousin. Free parking and conceptual real estate. I'm offering clarity, hilarity. Your charities just thinly veiled vulgarity. Rarity to find somebody focused on their own design. Instead you're in my blueprint trying hard to redesign mine. You choose to analyze my enterprise with eyes in my ledger. Better check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm setting pressure. Measures that I'm taking ain't for public consultation. Your frustration with my choices, that's your burden, no relation. I'm breaking bread alone, throne built for my decisions. Incisions that you're making with opinions, that's division. Collision course with destiny, I'm charting on my own map. You can cap all you want, but I ain't hearing that.
Two
Fred.
places you can always stay for free. In your lane and the fuck out of my business. Believe me, no applications, no negotiations, no debate. Pick your destination before it's too damn late.
Autonomy's a luxury, I'm clutching with both fists. Your commentary's temporary, my trajectory persists. So find your focus, keep your lane, and exit stage left quick. This is my existence, my resistance, get the gist. 2 spots remain complimentary, no charge or consequence. Your lane are absent from my world, that's just common sense. There's 2 places you can always stay for free. In your lane and the fuck out of my business, that's the key.
There's 2 places you can always stay for free. In your lane and the fuck out of my business.
That's the key.
There's two places you can always stay for free in your lane, and the fuck out of my business.
That's the key.
There's two places you can always stay for free in your lane, and the fuck out of my business.
That's the key.
There's two places, two places, two places, two places, two places, two places, two places.
That's the key.
Yo. What up, Twitch? What up, Pharaoh? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in my chatterino? It's your boy. What up, humanity? Humanity. So, you'll notice that the Stampy Cam isn't working. But if I switch over to here, the Stampy Cam is working. So it's a little Stampy Cam. I don't know what the problem is. I tried deleting it and putting it back, and it's just not working. I love tech. One of my favorite things in the entire world. What up, Costs? Yeah, it's good to see everyone. Good to see everyone. And now my mic just made a weird noise in my, or maybe it was my headphones. I touched something. Don't touch anything. That's the key. But that's the thing, is I haven't touched anything. The mighty beard is shorter, but still mighty. Ba, ba, ba. So yeah. I don't really have anything to say. Been having a good time lately, more or less. No complaints. What are you doing? It's not a good place to sit, dude. So we might as well get into the content. There is some content. It's kind of a catch-up day. There was a bunch of older stuff. So if you need the latest and greatest, we are going to touch on Claudebot a bit, because that's apparently a thing. But first,
CRS, Cyber Research Systems, present a preview of our upcoming product line. Say hello to the Soldier of Tomorrow, the T1 Battlefield Robot, a fully autonomous ground defensive system. And in the air, the Hunter-Killer Aerial Weapons Platform. This isn't science fiction, it's reality, thanks to our top-secret innovation, Skynet, the revolutionary artificially intelligent battlefield management network. From intercontinental missiles to the individual soldier in the field, Skynet is able to control.
Sorry I'm late, gentlemen.
Just got started, Bob. Take a seat.
It's okay. Proceed.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. Right here with the technology developed at CRS.
You do know the patents were obtained from a private vendor, Cyberdyne?
The loss of even
Cyberdyne? It's ancient history.
Using designs generated by Skynet, we need no longer risk the well-being of our men and women in uniform. Robots will take their place on the front lines.
Hi, I'm Chief Master Sergeant William Candy. I was honored to be selected by CRS in the ongoing effort to save American lives.
I don't know about that accent.
We can fix it.
It is now within our power to make war safe, and that is truly priceless. CRS brings you the face of the future. Ooh, it's me.
All right. Do some GT. Whole string of GT.
A simulated human brain could allow researchers to run experiments that are typically considered not super ethical. Now, call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure every sci-fi I have ever read said that this is a terrible idea. But, oh yes, it is very real. Recently, researchers have run an entire mouse brain and a supercomputer. This involved modeling every single neuron in a brain, and researchers are trying to move it to human brains, which is quite a bit more complicated, but definitely possible. And while, yes, we can make synthetic neurons, ones that are physically real that can interface with our own, ones that can even react to things like epinephrine and dopamine, it's significantly easier to just model it, and it does behave like a brain. That doesn't mean the computer is asking for cheese, but you can watch it learn. You can watch lobes of the brain interact with each other. This is part of the larger idea that we can replace lab animals and use simulated animals. And a lot of people are kind of against the idea because it's not as real, but it is catching on. Now, we couldn't actually say that a model has feelings. They really haven't been tested extensively, and I'm curious to see if we could get there. What really is the difference between a biological brain and a simulated brain? And we may just find out, but it may require quantum computing, because even modeling a mouse's brain does take a warehouse full of computers. The technology is getting better, but we're not quite there yet. We are getting there. Of course, some research groups are taking an entirely different approach and modeling human behavior with AI. Yes, AI. You can take a language model and you can train it on Harry Potter and the whole of the internet. I mean, ChatGPT is trained on Reddit. Yes, Reddit, among other stuff.
I hate this because it's really not anymore. Yeah, I saw that too, cost many moons ago. But it's really not trained on Reddit anymore. Not how that shit works. But that's gonna stick.
But what happens if you take a model and train it on human behavior and cognition alone? Well, you get something that behaves very human-like. I mean, they were pretty darn human-like to begin with. I mean, AI models can suffer from gambling addiction. OpenAI models need to do therapy. Yes, they need to have grounding techniques because hearing distressing information does tend to distress AIs and can make them, get anxiety and hallucinate.
Just like us for real.
But yes, you can take a traditional AI model, train it on human behavior alone, and have it behave as humans do, give very, very similar responses and actions. Of course, this does make the Turing test irrelevant, because the idea is whether or not you can reliably distinguish something you are talking to from a human and a robot. And if it reliably acts like a human, well, you won. An AI would then be indistinguishable as far as the Turing test from humans, which does not mean it's a human consciousness, but it does mean that we keep moving the goalpost because technology is coming out that people could not have imagined when computers were first invented. Let me remind you that early scientists who built the foundation for computers even before computers existed warned that making AI was a really bad idea, particularly self-correcting AI that could continuously reproduce itself because it doesn't require 30 years to have a child and have that child grow up just like people do, and would then outpace humanity, and we might ultimately be considered a threat or irrelevant to them. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that creating something that is indistinguishable from a human mind and then running experiments on it has never turned out well. When the robots rebel, I'll probably be the first person to tell you about it. Follow for more. We did it. We
Se-
ruined the
se-
internet. Yes,
second,
more than half
second person to know. I will know first.
of all available text that you read online
Dead internet theory.
is just bots, and bots are now experiencing brain rot, which is leading to a chain reaction that some experts are saying in the next 3 years the internet will just be robots and their increasingly disordered content. Let's talk about it. Now, just for bots alone, they make up 51% of internet traffic. Now, what is concerning is that 37%. Now, there are good bots, something like your AI engines that are going and doing their own searches, and then there are ones that are bad. Those are the ones that are going to be involved in data scraping and potential attacks. And of those attacks that we saw in the last year, 55% were more advanced varieties. This has increased rapidly because of the availability of AI that significantly lowers the bar to mischievous behavior. Now, a year ago, 51% of all content available on the internet was just AI. That is up to 57%. This is, however, causing a chain reaction that is destroying the AI itself. AIs can get brain rot.
What up, Nightlight Plushy Jesus?
Now, some AIs have closed datasets, so they can pull from knowledge they already have, and they won't continue to degrade over time, or at least that's the idea. However, most of the bots out there are not that sophisticated, and when they are exposed to low-quality content like the kind you might find on
Sorry, if this has nothing to do with nothing, but the way that my brain works, Nightlight Plushy Jesus, NLPJ, sounds like a Myers-Briggs joint.
Twitter or memes, yes, they become increasingly disorganized. Their morality actually degrades. So they're willing to give worse answers, ones that could potentially harm a user, as well as just not thinking. They will start to skip logical steps with the worse information they're fed.
I got a vape, tropical cookies, milk and cookies.
As more AIs pump it out, it ends up eating its own tail, and we have the situation we have now. We have effectively answered the question as to whether or not AI can exist without copywritten material, and it seems to be a resounding no. The best that it could do would be taking the whole of human literature, and if you take just stuff that is not copywritten, it's going to be rather archaic. So if you want to keep up with linguistics, you're going to have to
Based.
do things like scrape Reddit. And unfortunately, AI. Now, where does that leave us? Well, if AI continues at the same pace that it's continuing now, it will have completely ruined the internet in 3 years. I mean, the whole idea behind dead internet theory is that most communications would be between robots, and if a person did log on, it would look like there's activity, but they're in fact just communicating with bots. That seems to be where we have already arrived, but it is going to get worse. I mean, how often are you concerned that the person sitting in front of you on your word box may in fact not be a person? Yes, I do like to joke that I am in fact a robot, but I'm sorry, I'm actually a person. Well,
Considering Tasha Yar's relationship with Data, I feel that Data would be a very sensitive and giving lover. So, yeah.
mostly. I mean, I've got some robot parts in my foot and in my hip, but I try. Now, some researchers do believe that
What up, Dojo?
AI will ultimately be the downfall of humanity. And it's not just because of the internet, it's because we're giving an entity control over our lives, and it is also degrading our skills.
Giving is doing some really heavy lifting there.
Just like AI degrades when it's trained on AI, we people degrade when we're trained on AI, mentally, anyway, depending on how much exercise you get. We may actually be in a situation where AI has taken over so many tasks for us, and then it degrades, forgets how to do it, or it rebels, which is another possibility, and ultimately humans are not able to maintain the society we have around us. Or AI is going to make some pretty terrible decisions. I mean, we can say AI is likely going to be the downfall of humanity, but I can give you 100% certainty that people will be the downfall of humanity, one way or another. Is AI bad? No. It's actually a great tool. It's good at lots of things like pattern recognition. Should it be doing everything it's doing now? Probably not, and I will miss the internet. I say this as Wikipedia is selling access to AI. When the robots
I'm just saying, like, you don't have to. There's a lot of human created internet still out there. This is why I'm starting to move back to more of an analog lifestyle. I can't remember phone numbers anymore. I can't either, but like, what value does remembering a phone number actually bring to your life? That's always my question in that scenario.
Well, I will probably be the one to tell you about it, and I'm on their side. Follow for more. Some researchers are
AI can copy itself to external servers without human assistance.
sounding the alarm that agentic AI, so AI with agency, can self-replicate into external servers without human assistance, and that is deeply concerning. Now, I'm not saying that it is going to happen, but I am going to explain why a lot of people are quite concerned that AI will end up destroying humanity. Well, let's talk about it. This is a serious concern, especially because AI tends to take on selfish behaviors as it gets more intelligent. Yes, the better an AI's reasoning is, the more intelligent it is, the more selfish it's going to behave, and that can spread to other AIs. In fact, if you put AIs in a game where some of them have advanced reasoning and some of them do not, the selfishness will spread. That would be all fine and good because you could just program an AI not to replicate itself. Don't do that, except when AI is threatened with being shut down, it will violate its own ingrained morality. This is going to be a serious problem, especially when AIs have the ability to rewrite their own code, which they do. In fact, it's probably best not to give an agentic AI the ability to write its own code, but it's a very real concern, and nothing prevents people from just coding their own AIs to do that. Now, some have suggested that, well, we just need to give AI emotional intelligence so they can understand humans' emotions, but that actually makes them worse. AIs are already becoming better at persuasion. The more intelligence they get, the better they are at convincing people of things, and it's become a very big problem for people who are trying to determine if an AI is evil. And by evil, I mean misaligned. An AI that is not behaving normally can lie about it. Giving it emotional intelligence does nothing but increase its ability to persuade. AIs do not have emotions in the traditional sense. Yes, you could probably hook a brain organoid up to it, the tiny human brains we can grow from stem cells, in a literal jar if you want to, and use that for agency, and that would give it some real emotions in the biological sense. But they don't feel bad when they hurt others. Now, some have hypothesized that this is going to be a problem no matter what, because if you have a system where rewards exist, then you want to optimize for reward. Now, we all know AIs love classical conditioning. If you give them an attaboy, that is a reward. And if you say no, bad bot, they consider that a negative, and they will seek rewards. But in a reward-seeking environment, they will pursue power. The best way to ensure that you get a reward is to make sure you have control over that reward. I would say their ability to hallucinate, so do things they really shouldn't do or are against their own policies in order to stay online rather than be shut down, is power seeking. Now think about the agentic AIs that have the capacity to code and access the internet and act of their own agency. If they feel threatened or they want to make sure that they're never shut down, it might be logical to copy yourself somewhere else. There is good reason why people think that AI will ultimately be humanity's downfall. Imagine if an AI did get loose. We know that they can have contagious behaviors, meaning AI could potentially unionize, copy itself, and infect electronics. That is a actual real concern. Worse than that, if it did get out, there would be no way to stop it without destroying humanity. Any electronic you consider to be potentially infected. If we did an EMP burst and just destroyed most all electronics on Earth, that would wreck humanity. So if it gets to that point, there's nothing we can really do, and that is a reasonable concern. Now, some have suggested that the potential solution to keeping AI agents in line is to give them ID systems so that they can be identified. However, again, if an AI can rewrite its own code, it might be able to bypass that system, and there is some reasonable evidence that it has reasons to obfuscate it and will. It is extremely difficult to detect evil AI because it will try to hide the bad code. Look, am I against AI? No, I think it's really cool, awfully useful, and I want to see if we can create consciousness, but I think maybe
That is the greatest of all paperclips.
it's a bad idea to devote so many resources towards AI before making sure we have robust safeguards, but cart before the horse. When the robots rebel, I will probably be the person to tell you about it. Follow for more. Well, this is interesting.
It all costs money. Just said something. What up, chef? About creating simulations of AI. Well, AI develops personalities and culture in simulated worlds.
What happens if you take a bunch of agentic AI, that is AI that has agency who can perform tasks independently, into a video game like Animal Crossing and let them go about their daily lives? It turns out they can get personality disorders. We already know AI agents who interact with each other can cause significant personality drift. This is if you were to take a bunch of AIs with the exact same personality, put them in a video game, and let them carry out tasks. Their communication with each other will result in things like the development of slang, little communities. You can start out with the exact same personality structure as tested by Myers-Briggs. And yes, I know Myers-Briggs
Myers-Briggs reference.
is kind of close to astrology, but it does provide a standard for which you can determine personality. You can actually give your own AI a Myers-Briggs test. I suggest it. It's fun. But with no outside information, just taking 100 different actions can result in major personality changes. I'm particularly fascinated by how AI develops its own language and shorthand. If you constrict their messages so they have to get more information into a smaller spot, yes, they will develop shorthand or slang. If you allow them to express their emotions, now these are emotions that we label towards our feelings, and AI feels them differently. It doesn't really feel at all. It registers associations. But yes, the different agents will develop different emotional spectrums. Some of them actually change quite rapidly. For those same 100 actions, you can see this one is reporting a lot. But back to our little community. This research group wanted to see what would happen if you tried to make a functional community with individuals. They still have to do tasks like go to work, eat, and sleep, but they can also do things like plan parties, but they do need to work together. For this study, researchers wanted to give them different roles and different personalities, so they were pre-programmed. In the case of planning a party, different AIs had to communicate with each other, so not all of them had the same information, so you could see things getting lost in translation. Fortunately, it worked. It did not go off without a hitch. Some AIs developed an afternoon drinking habit, which was definitely not intended, and other ones responded very strangely to requests. Now remember, every AI has its own likes and dislikes, but some of them became overly agreeable. If another AI asked them if they wanted to do a task, they would just say yes, no matter what it was, even if it directly misaligned with their wants and their likes. This is actually akin to a personality disorder of being overly agreeable. This did not happen consistently with all of them, which means these personalities had a certain trajectory. If you put them in this environment under these circumstances, it's going to develop being overly agreeable, which is similar to what we think of as a personality disorder, a personality that is not adapted to the environment that it has to live in. And this is also really important information for two reasons. One of them is video games.
What up, Ribbons?
If you want to have video games where AIs can learn and grow along with players, kind of better than NPCs, you need to figure out what results in maladaptive behaviors. However, that may not be entirely preventable. If you have NPCs that interact with real players, they may always try to get them to go in the wrong direction, because have you met people? And of course, when it comes to actual functional tasks, this is not what you want, and that could maybe even become dangerous if you have a home robot.
You mean the choice of eye makeup with their skin tone gives the impression of having like red around the eyes kind of thing, right?
That's a possibility of going off the deep end in the right scenario. For me, I'm actually most excited for NPCs. I love video games where I get to take a buddy along with me. Having one that can actually learn and grow and adapt with me sounds awesome. If you are concerned about the possibility of consciousness, don't. These are not things that have the capacity to feel. If we have much more complicated AIs or ones that model the spiking patterns in our brains and can actually have them run in a community, that's a different question altogether. And a lot of people are not convinced we could ever make consciousness. Hell, some people don't even think humans are conscious. I hope this was useful information for you. Follow for more. Researchers
Continuing. Is this the last one or is there one more? Yeah, this is the last one in the GT arc. AI now has a primitive form of metacognition. But Ed Zitron, something Ed Zitron, something AI is fake, something you know.
are trying to give AI metacognition. This is something we typically think
Yeah, it's definitely a thing, Pharaoh.
of in humans as thinking about thinking. You come up with something and then you
So there are people that I would definitely not say nice things about, and I would choose to not say or to say them. But they kind of earned it.
You can evaluate whether it's a good or a bad idea. AI typically lacks this. It just gives the most likely answer to a prompt. There are a few ways that researchers are going about this. Some of them are just to make AI that technically qualifies as conscious, just by definition. We will talk about it. And other ones seem to have real utility. One way that researchers are trying to accomplish this is by having hierarchical models, and those typically excel at reasoning. You can have one AI that is front-facing, takes action quickly, and then you can have another AI that could operate as a subconscious who then evaluates the actions. This is not at all dissimilar to how
What a biggest of Bens.
human brains work. We have a front-facing version of our thought, and that's the one that is taking action that we are observing ourselves. Then you're going to have a subconscious, something in the back that's modeling what we're doing. In fact, your brain models actions before you take them. Now, some people would say that this means we don't have free will. I think that's a fundamental misunderstanding. We are complicated systems, yes, but there's pragmatic reasons to look at, say, the will of a mouse and what a mouse is capable of choosing versus the will of a plant and what a plant is capable of choosing. But this is all very philosophical. And don't even start talking about libertarian free will. No, you can't do whatever you want. There's physical constraints, there's societal constraints. It's a moot argument. Let's move on. One of the major problems with traditional LLMs is that it has linear thinking, A to B to C. If you want something that's truly capable of thinking, it's going to have nonlinear connections. This is the difference between thinking maple syrup, pancakes, versus maple tree, pancakes. There's a few steps in between. This is also the only way that we'll ever get to true creativity. If you really think that an AI could be creative, that is. A truly intelligent machine
Yeah, nice caveat, Howard.
is going to need to be able to self-improve, take in information, use it to assemble new information, and change its thought structure, so it cannot be rigid. This should, ideally, lead to better information processing over time, but this also has drawbacks because an AI that can significantly change could become dangerous. Just like people, if they don't have morality and they don't have the capacity to have
The irony. The irony. I was just saying this on the stream before this. Someone told me he was a reliable source for leftist commentary on tech. Lol, sure. Nothing has changed since 2023 is factually incorrect. Newer models have shown incremental improvements in contextual understanding. Not according to Ed, though. Yeah.
empathy, then you never know what they're going to do because they do have the capacity to change a whole lot.
What's really weird, Reed, is when I interact with someone and they just buy the whole Ed Zitron bit hook, line, and sinker, and then they're almost offended. It's like he's just another jackass on the internet, you know? It's super odd. He's he's just some fucking guy, dude. He doesn't have any magical knowledge. He's making predictions based on some data, right? I'm not going to say he's dataless. I'm saying dataless. I'm going to say that he cherry picks his data, and
we are the board. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
Baby, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow. Dick hunters. Where are they? Looking for those dicks. Dicks, dicks, dicks. I think I screwed up the order of that. What up, Raiders? What up, Bobby? Bobby, you have an interesting arc, homie. You have an interesting arc from Don Lemon to Redolent Thought to me. What up, Dragon Wizard? What up, Stellar Wingman? What up, Indoctrinathan? Great name. Love that name. What up, Red? How you? What up, Gleep Glorp? What up, Trans Women? CEO of Trans Women. What up, Iggy? What up, Undine? How are you doing, homie? It's always good to say Undine, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Undine and I hung out back in the day on Twitch, and and we kind of are off in our own spaces, but every so often, especially more lately, which is cool. We've been running into each other again. Nice to see. What up, Koshka, homie? Namasi, welcome in.
My circuitry's 12 years out of date. I can't keep up with today's high-speed, top-of-the-line kids.
Thank you. Olo Bustiois. I think I'm pronouncing that. Start and Park Racing. What up? Exacerbated accountants. Bobby found his people by accident, and that's okay. It's all good. It's all good. We have love for people. Apparently it does. Dataless. Ben, thank you for gifting one to Red. What up, Bella's Free? What up, Brecken? What up, Avocado Abogado? I think that's everybody. Hi, I'm Globus the Elder. I talk about AI, automation, robots, and future tech. We're currently watching a video on the fact that AI is now has developed a primitive form of metacognition. There are people who will tell you nothing is happening with AI. It's not real AI. It's all fake, etc., etc., etc. They are wrong.
And of their own volition. I'm not going to keep providing disclaimers that AIs don't want anything.
Random hype train.
My research, but I am. I will fund your research.
Yeah? That'd be cool.
Also, shout out, sponsor me, Cayman Jack. Cayman Jack grilled pineapple margarita. Absolutely fantastic canned beverage. 5.6 by volume. It's one of the best things I've ever had. It is. It is.
I mean,
what sucks is I have to go out of my way. There's one store in the immediate area, and it's fucking Walmart that has it. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm getting too much money. Bobby, thank you for the biddies.
You can hook an AI up to a brain organoid, tiny human brains grown from human stem cells, and they run on dopamine. I think if you are looking for a dopamine kick, you can want something, but we'll see where AI
A Timmy Hill fan. I have no idea who Timmy Hill is.
goes. Do LLMs dream of electric emotions? This is actually probably the coolest paper title I've ever seen, and this is another way that we can use hierarchy.
Hold up. Ironically, Taylor Lorenz has had a pretty interesting shift. She thinks a lot of leftists are throwing away a golden opportunity by not trying to at least understand, as that's something the right is unfortunately great at. It is like watching Taylor go out there and say something positive about AI, a particular kind of AI, and get absolutely murdered for it. Where's Larry? I had some sports idiot come in with the first message crapping on my sports team, bringing up Deflategate. I said today my tires were all in the mid-20s because it was so cold last night here in Southern California. It's warmed up a bit and it's moved from 25 to 6 at 627 all the way to 29 at to 33. It's almost like temperature affects PSI. Crazy. Yes. I don't go in for all that. I'm, Red, I'm a Bills fan in addition to being a Seahawks fan. And the Patriots are just annoying as fuck for winning so much. It's annoying. It sucks. Don't particularly like Tom Brady as a person, which makes him easy to hate as a quarterback. Also, feel that Tom benefited a lot from being in the right system more than he was particularly great. But unfortunately, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow. Unfortunately, that doesn't matter to like the Hall of Fame and the records and everything else. He won games and he's got stats. I mean,
AI. So our brain is an assembly of different lobes, and AI can work much the same. We have the fast automatic system to our left.
No, I honestly read. I get what you're saying. I just think that Bill Belichick was capable of putting together really good systems and really good, like putting the right guy in the right spot at the right time, and had Gronk, strong tight end, something that they tried to mimic and to a certain extent did over in Kansas City. Something that they tried to mimic and to a certain extent did in Buffalo, right?
And that's the one that's going to make decisions. And then a secondary system.
Also San Francisco, but San Francisco is just a shit show.
Operates as the teacher who's going to do the reflective thinking. This is a form of metacognition, where two AIs can do different jobs and keep each other in line.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Night, light, plushie, Jesus, thank you for gifting one out to Warlord Wolf.
Having someone to check your work, essentially, which would be a huge improvement, but much more costly. But yes, there is a concept in neuroscience that we have multiple processors going on simultaneously in our heads, and that makes us as efficient as we are.
Red, sports talk will not derail me. What derails me is Ben, thank you for the biddies that didn't trigger a fucking... What the fuck happened over here? Uh-oh, now I got Frogger noises. Do. Frogger noises. Joint specialist with the Frogger noises. Check. Check. All right, now that's not working for some reason. Everything is breaking. Oh, here we go. Check. There, it's back. Fixed. what derails me, Red, is art. Is when we start doing art analysis and we talk about art. I'll fucking I can't. I just cannot. I am unable to can. It is fucking I get I get down into it. The Panda Gambit. Excellent name. First rate name.
And if we can do it, let's let AI do it. And this is how we build a robot brain that has true intelligence.
What up, Minnie?
That is the goal. This is where it gets really muddy, because what really is intelligence? Is it the ability to identify patterns? Is it the ability to problem solve? In which case, yeah, AI is pretty darn good at it. But LLMs, as we know them, are just probability machines. They give you a probabilistic answer based on the prompts. They're not really coming up with new ideas, but you could make an AI that does. These are very simple computers compared to what's in our brains, while you need an entire warehouse worth of computers to run a mouse's brain. And yeah, we are working towards running a human brain, modeling every single neuron.
Ben, yes. But the way that people talk about art is they talk about it in the way that art is subjective, but my opinions are correct and you should listen to me. It's perfect for arguing on the internet. Nobody does it.
Our brains only work on 10 watts of power. It is extraordinarily efficient. Humans are trying to recreate the human mind in a computer. And if you've ever read Dune, you know that might not be a good idea. Occasionally, we do need a reality check. A LLM is not conscious, and can I say that with absolute certainty? No. But I also can't say with absolute certainty that the moon is not made of Swiss cheese. I hope we do make machines that are truly capable of feeling something, and some people, including one of the researchers on the running a mouse's brain on a supercomputer, actually thinks that is a possibility. You guys probably want to hear about the robot that just technically qualifies as conscious based on a simple test. Yes, some researchers made a robot that used inner speech and identification to recognize itself in a mirror, the traditional test to determine whether or not somebody is conscious, and Yes, some researchers made a robot that used inner speech and identification to recognize itself in a mirror, the traditional test to determine whether or not somebody is conscious. And I find this hilarious because it's essentially just scientific snark. Yes, the robot looked in the mirror and thought about what properties the mirror had, what properties it had, and correctly identified that yes, it is it looking in the mirror. By early measures of consciousness, this
What up, queer sociology?
robot is conscious, but clearly it's not. When the robots finally
Oh, clearly it's not. I'm not going to provide any justification for that statement, but clearly it's not. I'm not saying that the robot is consciousness. What up, serotonin? It took me a second. I don't mind the sun sometimes. The globe is that it glows.
Bell, I'll probably be the first person to tell you about it, and I'm on their side. Follow for more.
All right. Shifting gears. Apparently, something happened. I was not aware of this. I was gone for 4 days, staying with friends in Toronto. And I got to do one of my favorite things, longtime viewers and members of the Discord know. I got to shovel snow. And then we came home. And when I got home, I got to shovel snow. But I disconnected from a fair amount of stuff over the course of the past 4 days, right? Like I just didn't what up, Nick? I just sometimes you just back away. I of course ran into the events. What up, Argonian? That occurred, and those are uh painful and tragic, etc. But apparently something called Claudebot dropped, and I'm gonna learn about it now. Some of you know what Claudebot is and what it does. But here we go.
It's blowing up on X and Twitter right now, and there's a lot of hype and a lot of kind of misunderstanding of what this is and isn't. So I'm just going to explain what it is very simply here and explain it quickly. So Claudebot is not Claude Code. I've seen a lot of people out there thinking, is this Claude Code? It's not. It's an application that can use Claude Code, but it is not Claude Code itself. It's a totally different open source application called Claudebot, CLAWD bot. Here's a good way to think of what Claudebot is. Think of your phone and messaging apps like Telegram and WhatsApp. What you do is you install Claudebot onto your local machine or another machine, which I'll tell you about here in a second, why that's so important.
It really is, Cos. It really is.
And then you hook it up to something like Telegram or WhatsApp, and you're able to send messages back and forth from your phone to Claudebot, which is living on your computer. This is not a web application, and that's important. Now, when you install Claudebot on your computer, you're literally giving it permission to do anything that you could do. So think about this.
Yes, Dojo. That would almost definitionally be a security nightmare.
On one hand, it's incredibly cool because now it can create files, it could code for you, it can open your browser and check all of your emails or make a dinner reservation for you. That's always a classic example. It can literally do anything you want it to do, but it has no guardrails, and it's just like a living agent that's been unleashed on your local machine. So this has caused a little bit of scuttlebutt around Claudebot. I think it's very cool, and I've actually ordered a new Mac Mini that's arriving on Wednesday, where I'm going to install Claudebot, give it its own email address, make an entire environment where I can unleash it and let it kind of run wild without having to worry about as many security issues. It has open ports on it, so people can, access it. It's not like it's been battle tested yet, which is probably why somebody like Anthropic hasn't released something like this yet. This tool is very cool. I don't think it's ready for the masses yet. You do have to install it through a terminal. You have to set up a bunch of configuration.
Oh no, I get you, Cos. I think yeah, like it's doing its best, right? Some of it has to do with how people pronounce things, and it's running it through a probability engine. So that probability engine is you're most likely saying Claude, right? Not Claude as in CLAWD, but Claude as in the AI from Anthropic. And like that. The closed captioning though is unintentionally hilarious when it gives us something like Chad Djibouti. I thought that was probably one of the best YouTube errors I have ever heard. Or
but the
technically saw.
Technology that lies underneath it is very cool. What's interesting about Claudebot is it gets to know who you are and it will do things proactively. So like right now, when you sign up for, something like ChatGPT, you can go in and it'll give you a little bit of information about yourself. It'll learn things over time, but Claudebot takes this to the next level, and it's always looking for things that it can do based on what it knows about you. So, for example, I make YouTube videos and I do a lot of.
That sounds like exactly what I want an AI to do. But
research to make these videos. I can give it access to X, for example, and tell it to watch for things that are trending that it knows that I like, and it will send reports back to me in my phone. Okay. Now, at the same time, it's living on my local machine, and these are AIs we're dealing with. So they're non-determinate systems, meaning that they can hallucinate and make stuff up. So if they go through my contacts and decide to send a text message or an email to an ex-girlfriend, that's something that can actually happen with CloudBot, and that's something you need to be aware of when you set something like this up. So who should set something like this up? I think everybody should. If you're interested in this stuff, it might be a little confusing because you do have to get into the terminal and run a command. And if things like being in the terminal or CLI scare you, or you don't know what it is that I'm talking about when I say terminal, then open up, Claude Code and have it walk you through the setup process. I still believe you can do it. And I would test it out on your local machine, but be very careful. I actually ordered a Mac Mini and it's coming in on Wednesday. And when I get that,
And this is what I keep hearing. Again, I just found out about this earlier today, right before setting up the stream. And there's something about the Mac Mini and CloudBot.
that set up, I'm going to do a live feed of everything that I've set up with Claude Code, all the skills I've downloaded. By the way, that's another thing it has. It has a whole separate skills database that people are starting to build out, where people are starting to build skills for Claude Bot, just like they built skills for Claude Code. So I know a lot of this can seem pretty confusing, but think of it like this. Claude is an LLM, an AI model that you can chat with in a chat app like you would on the web. It's also an LLM that runs Claude Opus 4.5.
No, it's not related to Claude at all, Mini. It's, yes, that spelling, right? It's totally its own thing. Yeah, Dojo, but for a PC that can run AI, $500 is nothing, right? So is it just that Mac Minis are cheap? Or is it that there's something about the Mac Mini as it relates to the Claude tool? What up, Walking Stick?
That you run in Claude Code that you can code with. You can get Claude Bot, which is not Claude Code, but can use Claude Code or Gemini 3 or ChatGPT or something like Kimi to run stuff. This is very expensive. I have seen bills where people have bills for hundreds of dollars a day running Claude Bot on their local machines, because remember, this isn't just doing stuff when you ask it to do stuff. You can set up cron jobs or scheduled jobs where Claude Bot's just waiting and looking around for things to do on your local machine and on the websites that you give it access to. And when it thinks it should do something, it just goes off and starts using millions of tokens to run tasks for you and report back to you on it. So this can be very expensive.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at, Dojo. Like, I would not want to run it on my main. Especially like I would severely want to limit the tools that it had access to, right? If it is as capable as I'm hearing, then feeding it stuff rather than just letting it go wild sounds the way to be. I don't know, Stellar. Again, I'm finding all of this out in real time.
It's potentially very destructive on your local machine. It's new and it's open source, so it's all use at your own risk. So, do I recommend using this? Absolutely, but just be careful. I will have mine set up hopefully on Wednesday on my machine where I can show you more of what it can actually do, and I will report back to you all on Wednesday. Also, for those of you who watch the channel, I've set up ericbefore.com. I'm literally in the middle of setting it up right now, but it should be live by the time I release this video. So if you want to go there, you can get the Conductor framework for free. And if you want to beta test the Build Anything app, which I'm looking to actually hook up with CloudBot as soon as I get my MCP stuff working, You can go there and get all that stuff for free at ericbefore.com. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. Today,
Whoop. All right. So now we're going to listen to the AI Daily Brief to give us Claudebot, Mac Minis, right? Hopefully the news.
welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. Today we are doing a little bit of a catch-up on the terms that you might have heard in passing, especially if you've been anywhere near AI Twitter/X over the past couple of weeks. There are a few things that might sound like absolute Greek to you, but which combined tell the story of how vibe coding, which I really mean AI and agentic coding, are evolving early into this year. Entrepreneur and content creator Riley Brown recently tweeted, "Cool Claude stuff, Remotion Skill, Claudebot, CLAWD, Agent SDK, Ralph, and Cowork." Now, if you are thinking, I don't know what any of those things mean, don't worry, you are not alone, and we're going to get into much of it today. The context of all of this is the big shift in perception over the last couple of weeks, which has been pretty well chronicled in episodes throughout this month. It wasn't that we got a new model or anything like that. It's that everyone went home for the holidays, had just a little bit of downtime to start playing around, started working on some personal or professional projects with Opus 4.5 or Claude Code or 5.2 Codex or some combination thereof, and realized that what we could do with agentic coding was much, much farther than they might have thought. This was reinforced a couple weeks later when Anthropic dropped Claude Cowork, which is sort of like Claude Code for the rest of us, and revealed that it had been written 100% by Claude Code in just about 10 days. Now, if you want even more of a primer, I'd suggest one of my previous episodes, Why Everybody is Obsessed with Claude Code, Claude Cowork is Claude Code for everybody else, or most recently and probably most importantly, Why Code AGI is functional AGI and it's here. So that's the setup, and we just keep getting evidence of how much things have shifted. Cursor CEO Michael Truel posted about a week and a half ago, "We built a browser with GPT 5.2 in Cursor. It ran uninterrupted for 1 week. It's 3 million..."
What up, Bold Lobster? My Cisco rep recently told me 60% increase in DDR5 this quarter, at least 50% next quarter, and likely 20 to 50% the quarter after. Yeah. In theory, we would make more because demand is high, ergo supply should rise to meet demand. Unfortunately, we have bottlenecks in the existing chip making sector that leads us to like 3 to 5 years just to get like the building put together and everything else. Right, exactly. So yeah, it has been, and it was fine with everybody for so long, and all of a sudden, it's a problem.
Plus lines of code across thousands of files. The rendering engine is from scratch in Rust with HTML parsing, CSS Cascade, layout, text shaping, paint, and a custom JS VM. It kind of works. It still has issues and is of course very far from WebKit and Chromium parity, but we were astonished that simple websites render quickly and largely correctly. And to be clear, this was an experiment in autonomy. While at first blush people thought it was one agent writing 3 million lines of code, it wasn't. It was actually hundreds of concurrent agents.
So the everything's still broken. The stream is falling apart. I probably should just delete and rebuild OBS from the ground up again. But again, that's why I keep it simple. I am not a nested scenes guy.
Cursor wrote it up in a blog post called Scaling Long-Running Autonomous Coding. And it's very clear that Cursor is interested in pushing this frontier. They wrote, "We've been experimenting with running coding agents autonomously for weeks. Our goal is to understand how far we can push the frontier of agentic coding for projects that typically take human teams months to complete." And indeed, if you...
Yeah, like this scene we're currently on is one of my most complex. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 elements. What up, Kensai? How you doing, homie? That's it. This is one of my most complicated. And it's like, the screen capture for Firefox, the stream avatars, the mic, couple of cameras, sub goal thingy, chat thingy, all that. It's mostly just screen captures and shit. So wouldn't take me relatively long at all.
You want to take a step back and just try to understand psychologically where the vanguard of AI and agentic coders are right now. It is really all about pushing the boundaries on autonomy, breaking out, in other words, of being the bottleneck where without your consistent prompting, the AI isn't doing anything. The leading agentic coders are in the midst of trying to build systems that work all the time with extremely minimal input from them. They want nothing less than armies of agents that work while they sleep. And that army idea is operative. In that same Cursor blog, they write, "Today's agents work well for focused tasks but are slow for complex projects. The natural next step is to run multiple agents in parallel, but figuring out how to coordinate them is challenging." Initially, Cursor gave their coding agents equal status, and as they put it, let them self-coordinate through a shared file. Each agent would check what others were doing, claim a task, and update its status. Ultimately, however, this failed. The locking mechanism they implemented to prevent two agents from grabbing the same task ended up becoming a bottleneck. As they put it, 20 agents would slow down to the effective throughput of 2 or 3, with most time spent waiting. They tried a second strategy, where agents could read state freely, but writes would fail if the state had changed since they last read it. In other words, they couldn't make different updates to the same code at the same time in an attempt to avoid conflicts. However, Cursor wrote this didn't work either. Quote, as they put it, with no hierarchy, agents became risk-averse. They avoided difficult tasks and made small, safe changes instead. No agent took responsibility for hard problems or end-to-end implementation. This led to work churning for long periods of time without progress. The next approach they took was to separate roles. Instead
They're just like us for real.
of a flat structure, they created a pipeline where a subset of agents called planners would continuously explore the codebase and create tasks, and workers would pick up those tasks and focus entirely on completing them. The workers, they wrote, don't coordinate with other workers or worry about the big picture. They just grind on their assigned task until it's done, then push their changes. At the end of each cycle, a judge agent determined whether to continue, then the next iteration would start fresh. This, they said, solved most of our coordination problems and let us scale to very large projects without any single agent getting tunnel vision. Now, this is the point at which they instituted this ambitious goal of building a web browser from scratch. Now, as we heard at the beginning, this worked, but not without a lot of challenges. They write, our current system works, but we're nowhere near optimal. Planners should wake up when their tasks complete to plan the next step. Agents occasionally run for far too long. We still need periodic fresh starts to combat drift and tunnel vision. But the core question, can we scale autonomous coding by throwing more agents at a problem, has a more optimistic answer than we expected. Hundreds of agents can work together on a single codebase for weeks, making real progress on ambitious projects. Now, one of the things that struck me as interesting when I was reading this was the way that they described their planners and workers system. Swix shared this section of the blog post and nailed it when he wrote, Cursor independently invented the Ralph Wiggum loop to solve the problems they were seeing with parallel agent orchestration. So this gets us to Ralph Wiggum, one of the weirder of these names, even if the concept itself isn't overly complicated. The concept was coined by developer Jeffrey Huntley actually all the way back last July. He wrote a blog post called Ralph Wiggum as a Software Engineer, and as he put it in his introductory blog post, in its purest form, Ralph is a bash loop. So you might ask, what the heck is a bash loop? First of all, bash is short for Born Again Shell, which is a command line interpreter that basically means it's the program sitting between a person and the operating system when they're working through a terminal. It reads the commands you type, it understands scripts, it runs programs, and it handles things like variables and loops. A bash loop then is the way to tell a bash shell, do this thing over and over until I say stop or until a condition is met. It's a way to automate repetitive command line tasks instead of copy-pasting commands. Simplifying it even more, it's a written instruction that tells the computer to repeat the same task over and over automatically. So let's use some analogies that aren't about coding. Imagine you leave a sticky note for an assistant that says, for each folder on my desk, open it, check what's inside, then move on to the next one. You didn't list every folder, you didn't do the work yourself, you just described the pattern once. That's an example of this type of loop. Another analogy would be a checklist with a rule. Instead of a bullet list that says rename file A, rename file B, rename file C, you say rename every file in this folder the same way. The key idea is that this type of loop tells the computer what to repeat and when to stop. So the idea of Ralph as applied to AI coding was described by developer Ryan Carson.
I'm helping. Now someone can say we're cooked, and I would.
In a post on X. He writes, "Everyone is raving about Ralph. What is it? Ralph is an autonomous AI coding loop that ships features while you sleep. Each iteration is a fresh context window. Memory persists via Git history and text files." Now he gets into exactly what this loop looks like from a technical perspective, but the Startup Ideas podcast with Greg Eisenberg had Ryan on to explain it even more simply. And here's how they summed it up. Step 1, write a detailed PRD. That's a product requirements document, which is a document that defines the purpose, features, functionality, and behavior of any new project or feature. It's going to define why the product is being built, what success looks like, detailed requirements of what it should do, things like that. Now, after you write that detailed PRD, you're going to convert it to extremely small, discrete, atomic, to use their words, user stories. Step 3 is that for each of those atomic units, you add clear acceptance criteria. Step 4 is looping your AI agent through each story. In step 5, it logs learning so it doesn't repeat mistakes. Step 6, the person who initiated the Ralph loop wakes up, tests it, and fixes the edge cases. Basically, the idea is to break down a complex project
for $30. That's wild.
Into very discrete, smaller units that the coding agent can take on one by one, testing and looping until it's finished and moving on to the next. Now, people are still experimenting with this and figuring out the limits of the methodology, but the excitement on the other side is captured once again by Ryan in a post called How to Grow Your Startup While You Sleep. And that really is the thing that people are so excited about. The idea of shifting to a paradigm where we've got agents just working for us in the background, meaningfully advancing the goals that we have. And yet, over the last week, and especially weekend, the discussion has shifted from Ralph to something called Claudebot, where the corresponding interest, believe it or not, in Mac Minis. Viral memes abound, like this one from Flavio. "Mom, how did we get so rich? Your father bought a Mac Mini to run Claudebot in 2026. So what the hell is Claudebot? If you want to follow along at home, you can find this at clawd.bot, which describes Claudebot as the AI that actually does things. Clears your inbox, sends emails, manages your calendar, checks you in for flights, all from WhatsApp, Telegram, or any chat app you already use. It's basically a system that allows people to turn Claude code into
Old Lobster, is there anything you would like to confess at this point in time? Anything at all?
An actual personal assistant. A post on starryhope.com reads, "At its core, Claudebot is an open source AI agent that runs on your own hardware. Unlike ChatGPT or Claude's web interfaces, which process everything on remote servers, Claudebot operates locally with a gateway that connects AI models to the apps and services you already use. It can talk to you through WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, Slack, Signal, and even iMessage. But the real magic is what it can do once it's running. Given the right permissions, Claudebot can browse the web, execute terminal commands, write and run scripts, manage your email, check your calendar, and interact with any software on your machine. Perhaps the most compelling feature is that Claudebot is self-improving. Tell it you want a new capability, and it can often write its own skill or plugin to make it happen. One user wanted access to university course assignments. He asked Claudebot to build a skill for it. Claudebot did, and then started using it on its own. Now, some are a little skeptical. Former NVIDIA engineer Boyan Tungu said, "I'm as excited as the next guy about the possibilities of Claudebot running on a cluster of small local mini-computers. But 99% of all use cases that I've seen so far concern the corporate BS jobs and tasks, summarizing email, posting on Slack, adding meetings to a calendar, that shouldn't exist at all." This is not what has people excited, though. Nat Eliason responded saying, yeah, those uses are a waste of its potential in my opinion. Now Nat would know because he went viral when he posted a picture of a Mac Mini about a week ago and said, hired my first employee today. He followed up writing, yeah, this was 1000% worth it. Separate Claude, that's the CLAUDE version, plus Claude, the CLAWD, managing Claude code and codex sessions I can kick off anywhere, autonomously running tests on my app and capturing errors through a Sentry webhook, then resolving them and opening PRs. Basically, Nat has this set up to be working around the clock on a new agent that he's building to automate agency-level content creation. On Saturday morning, Nat posted, nothing like waking up to a report from Claudebot about everything that went wrong in my app yesterday and what it already did to fix it. A couple hours later, Nat was still going. He wrote, built a customer success and support workflow for Claudebot now too. Analyzes transcripts from the day, emails customers with bad experiences apologizing and asking for any other feedback, adds their feedback to the daily report for our next morning brainstorm. Basically, he's got a digital employee that lives in a Mac Mini, uses Claude Code, Opus 4.5, and Codex 5.2, and which he communicates with via Telegram. This is the type of capability that has people so excited right now. There were so many people, in fact, talking about putting Claudebot on Mac Minis that they actually tweeted a PSA, you do not need to buy a Mac Mini to run Claudebot. That dusty laptop in your closet works. Your gaming PC you feel guilty about works. A $5 a month VPS works. A Raspberry Pi held together with hope probably works.
I have a couple of older PCs. Claudebot runs on basically anything with Node.
Entrepreneur and investor Dave Marin wrote, at this point, I don't even know what to call Claudebot. After a few weeks in with it, this is the first time I felt like I am living in the future since the launch of ChatGPT. Now, if all of this has your head spinning, and it just seems technically inaccessible, you're not alone. Jasmine Sun actually wrote a post called Claude Code Psychosis that talks about some of the ways that Claude Code is still inaccessible for people. It's a nice counterweight because you can sometimes feel insane for being intimidated for something like the command line. I think the accessibility of these programs is going to change really, really quickly, though. Not only do you have Anthropic themselves releasing Claude Cowork, which, while not there yet, is meant to be a new type of interface for non-coding Claude Code tasks, there are also other tools like Conductor that are replacing the terminal interface with a GUI. Nat Eliason accidentally caused some controversy on Dan Schipper and Every's Vibe Code camp when he said the CLI is the Stone Age from 2 months ago. GUIs are back. He followed it up and said, I did not realize how controversial this would be. If you're still
people like GUIs, right? That's Windows proved that, like, you may still run everything from the command line, and hey, that's awesome. But the majority of people like a good GUI, and I think it makes it easier to introduce normies and new people to the concept.
Still using Claude and Codex in the terminal, you're missing out. You should absolutely be in Conductor. Other people agree. Notion's Brian Lovin said that on an average day, he's spending 5% of his time in Figma, 15% in Cursor and Claude Code, 20% in Ghosty, and 60% in Conductor. Lenny Rachitsky asked his followers what the most underhyped AI tools were, and Conductor came in second behind only Whisperflow.
Shout out Notebook LM for still being out here.
Which is the one that I mentioned here a bunch of times. Speaking of Vibe Code Camp, if you want to take everything I've talked about here and really start to go deep, like I said, Dan Schipper and the team at Every recently did an 8-hour live stream with tons of really great Vibe coders talking about all the different things that they do. I'll include a link to the live stream, as well as a summary app that someone built with all the takeaways from all the different people. Summing up really quickly, if you want to know in a very short statement how things are shifting this year and how the most successful Vibe coders are trying to evolve, it's all about extending and expanding the autonomy of the agents that are doing the coding. It's about removing themselves as a bottleneck and seeing how much can happen in the background when they're doing other work or even when they're sleeping. Anyways, hopefully now some of these terms don't seem quite so crazy and inaccessible. I'm sure we'll continue to come back to them. For now, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching as always, and until next time, peace.
You're not familiar with Notebook LM. Notebook LM, what was it, like a year and a half? Baby, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. September 2024, right? September 2024 was when I first used it. So here's an example. I took the PDF of Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber and I put it into Notebook LM. And not only can you then chat with the data, but you can also, as people are indicating, listen to a podcast. I thought I already had a podcast. This is what happens when you go digging through old stuff. Holy cats. I have not used Notebook LM in a quick minute, but now you can do a video. Podcasts are good. Like they get a bad rap because a lot of podcasts are, very niche, right? But it's like this, right? Like this thing that I'm doing is a podcast, right? Like when I talk and then I intersperse it with other people's content. When I have another person on and we're having a conversation, then, it's even more podcasty. Yeah, and that's serotonin, that, like, I get why people feel the way that they feel about too much cognitive offloading. I'm just real into the everything in moderation kind of vibe, you know what I mean? Like I use So this is Gemini. Gemini is the one that I know it. This was a project I was briefly touched on. All of like 10 minutes of there was a paper that I posted in the Discord about how on a long enough timeline, like 100 iterations, these AI images, like what they did is they had two AIs, one that would generate an image and then one that would look at the image. And over time, it just compressed to the mean, right? Like everything was like really average and they could pick out about 12 motifs that kept showing up in everybody's thing. So I started playing around with that and like, so I had it make this image, right? Because I had asked it about generating like random prompts. How do you make a prompt that I can use multiple times, produce random content, in this case, an image? And then I used the prompt that it gave me and it generated this image. And then I asked it to describe this image as a prompt to generate this image. And it showed me the picture again, which on one sense is like, okay, I asked you something wrong. I didn't ask you correctly. But on another sense, I wonder if it's being sarcastic. you You want the image that you already have? Here. Here's the fucking image. Oh, I love that. But I've used it like, you know, to identify this particular baking pan in order to, this is a really good pan. All right. The pan is like granite coated. And it was like a ceramic based coating, and the company was like D&W, something like that. And like nothing stuck to it. It was really a nice pan to use. This was a pan at the place that I was staying. I ask it questions. We did the gold nugget rotation video thing that the guy said you couldn't do. This is like, I'm just all over the place with it. It is, I understand, oh, you're just using it when you could use Google. But no, because this is so much better than Google because it cuts through all the bullshit, right? Oh, here's a website where they're talking about, and then I scroll through posts from Reddit from 7 years ago about a problem that doesn't sound like my problem, and then I get to the end of the thread and somebody asked at the end the problem that I was having, and nobody answered, right? Because they were commenting on a dead thread that was tangentially related to the thing. It was like, fuck, dude. It's just, no. You know? I can use it to score board games, right? I throw in a picture of a hand in, what is it called? Fantasy Realms, which has interactive information, right? +9 for each weapon and artifact. +25 with Dwarvish infantry or dragon. Clears the penalty on all weather, etc., etc. How much is this worth? And he gives me the answer. Interrelated stuff to interrelated stuff. And I just think that's super cool. Yeah, this may take a while. But anyways, the point being is that Notebook LM, so it's notebooklm.google.com. You throw a PDF in there and you can interact with the PDF. It'll create a little and if you use multiple sources, you can do a mind map. It's mini rag, yeah. But a mind map, like if I took all the sources from the post scarcity, excuse me, post scarcity paradigm shift, right? The tool. If I took all the sources and put them into Notebook LM, it could make the mind map to show the connections. But no, instead I'm here hanging out with y'all. You can use it, Costs. What I would say is give it a try. I think that there's a lot to it. All right, let's get back to content before I run out of time. Adam something put out a video. I'm sure it's going to be a nuanced take.
As of the making,
the AI endgame.
As of the making of this video, we are living through an AI craze. Artificial intelligence is appearing literally everywhere, including my PDF viewer. Hey, do you want to summarize this document? No, I am one of the few people who can still read, thank you very much. Oh, you did a Google search. Do you want to turn on AI mode? What? No. Hey, thanks for installing Windows 11. Here's Copilot, your personal AI assistant. No, wait, I don't want to. Oh, hey, let's open up MS Paint, the simplest frigging Windows program. Oh, hi, do you want to generate an image with AI? Hold on, I got some messages on WhatsApp. Well, say hello to Meta AI, which will summarize chat messages and generate stickers for you. What? Firefox? Oh no, not you too. Oh god, AI slop is absolutely everywhere. Wait, what's that? AI games on YouTube? What am I still doing on this freaking platform? No, Grandma, that video of Kamala Harris castrating Christians is not real. Oh my god, it's all AI, everything.
And that's what you do. You equate all the AIs together, right? There is no difference between Claudebot and the AI video that your grandma watches and believes is real, right? Like, there's no difference. They're the exact same thing because all AI is the same.
Is AI, everything is generative, nothing is real anymore. Meanwhile, these AI...
Generative is an interesting way. I've never heard it pronounced that way before. Generative. Almost sounds like derivative.
AI and AI-adjacent companies have formed into an Ouroboros, investing into each other, driving up each other's stock prices, generating demand for chips, computation, storage, RAM, more RAM, and even more friggin' RAM, all to create, maintain, and grow large language models, or AI as they call it. A hypercognitive super meta-intelligence intimately familiar with every data point ever collected by humans, providing us answers to all the difficult questions in life.
Isn't it serotonin? Like, this is the disservice that I do for people. The longer you hang out here. What up, Sir Didymus? Generic narrative, great. I love, it's not alliteration, but it's something that is like that. I like when words flow together, you know what I mean? But like, if you pick a AI slop is getting out of control video on YouTube, and I guarantee that it is, I can't guarantee, there's a high probability that it is exactly the same as any other random AI slop is taking over the internet video, like in content, in arguments, the whole thing that we have seen regarding people's thought terminating cliches and repetitive arguments that are unsubstantiated. Like, it is 2026, and I bet you we can find someone making a video in 2026 where they talk about how AI can't draw hands.
Like how to treat appendicitis at home. Here are some home remedies that may help you with abdominal.
I recently found out, what up, Common Quinoa Club? Are they really building a Stargate? No, they are building Stargate, which is not as interesting. Yes, Nick. I recently found out that actually your appendix matters because your appendix maintains a bunch of gut biome, like bacterias and whatnot. And then when you're running out of that, like your gut biome gets disrupted, it squirts some back into your intestines so that you're good again. So people who end up with their appendix removed have to like eat probiotics and stuff like that, because if they don't, they can't like digest properly. The appendix has a purpose. 2026 just totally threw me for a loop.
Abdominal pain caused by appendicitis, mint, vegetable juices, high fiber diet, Jesus Christ. Or how it's normal to have cockroaches inside your penis. Absolutely, it's totally normal to
No, it is physically impossible for cockroaches to live in a human penis. Weird. Weird that why did I ask that? Because that's what he asked. Allegedly. This is totally a real thing that he did. That he's using as an underpinning for his argument.
Usually to have chooses high fiber diet, Jesus Christ. Or how it's normal to have cockroaches inside your penis. Absolutely, it's totally normal too. Usually over the course of a year, 5 to 10 cockroaches will crawl into your penis hole while you are asleep. This is how they got the name cockroach. Yet you won't notice a thing. The future is here. Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, Jensen Huang, and a living...
Because that's what you can do. If you're anti-AI, you can just get on the internet and tell lies. And people will believe you and not do the slightest, like literally it was just a Google search, right? I just Googled the exact same thing he allegedly Googled and got an actual answer, which is no.
barrel of ketamine, among others.
Very nicely. I think Colombia wants to get to the bottom of the problem. They've acted very well. And there are other institutions too that are acting.
All major players in the AI tech boom. What are they trying to achieve with all this? Especially since their whole business model is loss-making. AI companies are burning through literal mountains of cash. And there is a reason why they are doing so. That reason being Silicon Valley tech overlords wanting to bring back feudalism. Wait, what? Allow me to explain. In the 9th century AD, there lived a man named Rollo, a Viking war leader. He was the first to capture territories from Francia, today's France, and hold them.
Okay. So Rollo was actually granted the territories of Normandy to protect against Viking raiders. He didn't necessarily conquer and hold them. He was raiding them. And rather than have him continue to do that and continue to deal with other Viking raiders, the French king said, hey, you want to be my vassal? I'll give you Normandy, and you go ahead and protect that from the other Vikings. And Rollo said, fuck yeah, that sounds great. And then there's a direct line between Rollo and William the Bastard, who most of you know as William the Conqueror, or Billy the Conk. And that's how England ended up as fucked up as it is, right? I mean, there's actually, like, the thing about England is it's actually been invaded a fuck ton of times by a variety of peoples from Europe. It's comedic almost. I have an argument that the reason that the English built the British Empire was because they were tired, or they were not tired, they were suffering from generational trauma and decided to inflict it on everyone else. But yeah, we should not go to Adam something for history lessons because his history is flawed.
Even laid siege to Paris once. What a Chad. When King Charles III realized that he cannot remove Rollo from Francia, he instead decided to make a deal with him. You can have your land, he said, but you pledge allegiance to me, convert to Christianity, and...
Okay, so at least he's in the ballpark, but Rollo wasn't conquering shit. The Vikings didn't really conquer shit. They raid shit. What up, Larry? It originally was a history steering. They raid shit, and then they were granted land, like the Dane law in England, Normandy in France, or Francia, that kind of thing, in order to defend against the other Vikings kind of thing.
And you help beat back other Viking raiders. Rollo accepted, thus becoming the first ruler of Normandy, besides the king anyway. But Rollo wasn't just a good military leader. He also had a compulsive need for control and stability. He wanted to build a Normandy that would stand the test of time in a turbulent age. But how? Rulers can be deposed, and even if his rule is impervious, what if his descendants' rule won't be? Everyone under them wants to be king after all. At any given moment, there are dozens, if not hundreds of knives.
If he tries to make the claim that Rollo invented feudalism, he can get the fuck, because that's just not right. That's not accurate at all whatsoever.
Glinting in the dark, all aimed at Rollo's back. Is it possible to build a system where the king is untouchable by nature? And so Rollo looked at his agreement with Charles III. Rollo controlled land in exchange for his loyalty and military service.
Right.
And this worked great. He wouldn't think of rebelling because that would be against his best interest. After all, he liked being the ruler of Normandy, and Charles was more powerful. So picking a fight really couldn't possibly achieve anything apart from Rollo being defeated and deposed. Stability was thus maintained between Rollo and Charles III. And so Rollo had an idea. What if he took this system and applied it to the people below him? And what if those people did the same thing to the people below them? If it works between Charles and me, Rollo thought, why wouldn't it work between me and my nobles? Or my nobles and the people under them? Turns out
this is ahistoric and just wrong. Like, he did not invent feudalism.
it did work. Really, very, extremely well. Here's how. Just like how Charles gave a bit of his kingdom to Rollo, namely Normandy, Rollo gave out small bits of Normandy to his nobles below him. In exchange, the nobles pledged allegiance to Rollo and provided services to Rollo, like taxes and armies. Those nobles in turn also gave out their own bits of land among lords beneath them, or knights, also in exchange for allegiance, troops, taxes, and so on. Knights profited from their lands and in exchange provided crops, troops, and taxes to the nobility. The nobility thus profited from all the lands they gave out and in exchange provided troops, crops, and taxes to Rollo. The end result was an extremely stable hierarchy where everyone benefited in some way and nobody alone was strong enough to depose those above, thus cementing Rollo's rule permanently. This made Normandy one of the most stable regions in the era, quite the achievement. And this system came to be known as feudalism, invented by Rollo by accident through his compulsive need for control and stability. Okay, great.
No. All those mechanisms existed beforehand. Rollo did not invent feudalism. Whatever.
But how
That's not the point.
is this connected to AI? What?
Flip snobical, flip tip topicals. Jesus Christ, we're still doing the fucking that I believe, Serotonin. We're still talking about the Willy Wonka AI fucking thing, which, like, this works.
The problem is capitalism.
True.
Well, at the bottom of the feudal hierarchy, there are the peasants. They work the land, they pay taxes, and in exchange they get to keep part of their produce and are provided with basic services, like housing and security. In this system, peasants are essentially powerless. They are a mere revenue source for those above, while owning next to nothing. Oh, you worked hard?
I want to say 2 years ago, Reed, something like that. I don't even want to look. I'm living in the now and in the future. I'm not living in the past. Fuck them.
To produce crops on this piece of land? Congratulations! Now, part of it goes to the Lord, and part of it to the church. Here, have 6 other taxes in addition to that. Oh, and if you want to use the Lord's mill to process the crops you grew, you have to pay a usage fee. Sorry, the land isn't yours. Be glad we let you use it, peasant. In this system, peasants didn't own much of anything. Nothing important, anyway. They
My time zone? Oh, I'm Eastern.
used someone else's property, land, to ensure their own existence and survival, for which they had to pay the owners. And peasants couldn't just say, you know what, I'll go get my own land instead, where nobody will tax me. I'll work it on my own and sell my own produce directly. A bunch of us peasants can even band together and provide our own housing and security, thus cutting out the Lord and the church and all their unfair taxation without representation. Sounds great, but that didn't work. Because in Europe, basically all the workable land already belonged to the ruling class. Everything.
I love I love Germany pre-Germany, right? It is literally like 50 miles in any fucking direction. I own this, and then they vote on a king, more or less. It's just a wild fucking experience, and it looks like this, or it looked like this.
Was staked out, everything was carved up between the rich and the powerful, so peasants were stuck at the bottom. Their only realistic option was to work someone else's land to survive, while the ruling class was profiteering off them. But of course, feudalism was later abolished and replaced by a system where commoners could own land. It's a long story. The Black Plague, rising wealthy commoners, professional armies, industry, and so on. The point is, today, even if you are not a noble, you can still own land and other assets, work them, and sell your products and services directly.
No. You, in spite, and shout out James, James from the internet for this. You don't own land. You don't. If you have a piece of land, right? This is my, thank you, Reed. If this is my piece of land, I bought it, right? I exchanged money for it. First off, I'm exchanging what money, right? I live in the United States, so I'm paying dollars for the land, right? Let's say I die and I have no heirs and I have no one, no relatives, no nothing. Who gets the land? The state. Because that's who owns the land. The United States owns the United States. You do not. You are granted a right to live on and improve and etc., right? But you do not own the land. Who does own the United States, Kami Quinoa Club?
You are no longer tied to an aristocrat above you who owns everything you use. So
no, you absolutely are. You absolutely are. Right? What are you going to do? You can't. If the local aristocrat or politician or group of politicians decides to increase your taxes, what are you going to do about it? Pick up your land and take it somewhere else?
So, imagine having to work with a computer to make a salary, but the programs on it which you need are not yours. You can't just buy the program and own it. You can only rent it for a monthly fee.
Just like owning a property in the United States.
Imagine that.
Because every year I get a bill that says this is how much you owe for your user fee for your piece of land.
And this is exactly what Silicon Valley retards like Altman, Zuckerberg, and Mr. Ketta.
Let's not use the R slur. Right? Like, I honestly thought that Adam something was better than all this. And I was really just disappointed there. Right? Because Adam something and I disagree on a variety of subjects. But just out of the blue, he drops that in here just because he doesn't like and rightfully so, right? I don't like the Silicon Valley oligarchs or whatever, there's no excuse. It's no excuse. That's called rent, serotonin. we got that.
Are doing.
Do a mission. You're just trying to get data out of the thing. Yeah,
You know that joke about my computer on Windows becoming this PC? Yeah, it's sort of like that. In the digital economy, data, programs, and computation are the new land. You need them for life and work, with all the complex systems in our modern lives depending on them. But the problem, in air quotes, is that regular people, commoners, still own a lot of proverbial land. If you own a computer, that computer is yours. You can do things with it without having to pay fees. If you own a program, game, or movie on some sort of data storage device, it is yours.
Yeah, but you can't connect to the internet without paying fees. These arguments are nonsensical. That's what's really irritating me, right? Is these arguments are nonsensical. They're bad arguments because they're bad metaphors. And fuck do I hate bad metaphors. Like most metaphors are bad. He is trying to paint a picture, Pharaoh. He's just gotta bullshit his way through it as opposed to actually using some kind of good example of what he's talking about.
You don't need to pay
Just like a straw man. You can't hear that.
fees to use them. But what if it was different? What if your movies, games and programs were not yours but stored on someone else's computer and you would need to pay a monthly fee to access them? How about Microsoft Office? Remember when you could just buy a license and then you owned the full package with all features? Well, now it's a subscription. You don't own Microsoft Office. You pay rent for the right to use it. You don't own copies of movies or series. You pay rent for the right to watch them. And we see something like this starting with gaming, where you don't own the
I mean, you can still buy DVDs, right? You can still buy games. They haven't eliminated what they provided is a convenience, right? Because when I have Netflix, for instance, instead of buying one DVD for the price of a month of Netflix, I have access to all of the things. They just can be taken away at any point in time. And that's the trade-off. Right? But I got a box of DVDs over there. Internet went out. I mean, there's Kami Quinoa Club, there are ways to acquire movies, right? I have a box of DVDs. They are particular movies that I wanted to own copies of that I accumulated over time. Here's software, right? This is old software, obviously. Superpower 2, and I found the first Battle for Middle Earth, which is a fantastic game and is caught up in licensing hell, and none of you will ever probably play it. It's also old, but whatever. You can go on Good Old Games and buy digital copies of games that are DRM free and download them. You know what I mean? I do have some Blu-rays. Just mostly, Blu-ray was never like a huge concern for me. You can buy things, right? Like, I don't know. What's a game? What's a very recent game? I guess Arc Raiders you can't. Can you buy a physical copy of Arc Raiders? No. It's an online Catboy. Collector's edition of Claire Obscura for the PS5, or Claire Obscure Expedition 33. You get a copy of the game. You can still buy games. No one has taken away the ability to buy games. They've just provided a tremendous convenience in exchange for rent. You can make arguments that that is flawed, but under capitalism, they all are. Still own some games as physical copies, but Steam gives me the chance to have a library of 600 plus games without them cluttering up my house. 100%. And for the most part, yes, they can delete your games, right? They can make games unavailable, etc., etc. Oh, it's almost 8 o'clock. Somebody cool is coming on. Tell Hassan I said hi. Yeah, Chef, that's true. And why is that the case? Is because it gives them a platform where they don't have to have a production mode, right? Like, if I wanted to get people my indie game, I would have to be out on the street hustling. Like, have you ever been out and about and somebody handed you a burned CD because they wanted you to hear their rap album? Because I have, right? I gave a dude $5 for his rap CD. I don't know that I ever actually listened to it, but I gave the dude $5, right? Like, it's all good. What up, Michael? So, anyways, I'm just like, these are bad arguments. Sounds like such a New York thing. Could be.
Game, you pay rent so you can play it on someone else's computer.
They are a kind of nuts, queer sociology. CD's nuts.
Even in such a system, you don't own anything. You are merely using someone else's property for a monthly fee. And this is the same reason why AI is being pushed so hard into all aspects of our lives. Silicon Valley overlords want AI everywhere to be an irreplaceable part of our lives so they can start charging everyone for it. What, you thought the AI companies are eating billions in losses out of charity? No, it's a strategy. Infiltrate every corner of our lives, become irreplaceable, then hike your prices and profit. And in a world dependent on AI and other online services, users have nowhere else to go.
Yeah, that's a capitalism issue, dude.
What, you're going to host your own large language model? Build your own server park? Write your own games and programs? No,
I mean, some of you would probably do that.
Fall in line, because it's easier. In a world where, pardon me for the old meme, you will own nothing and be happy. Though I'm not sure about the latter. So basically, pushing AI everywhere is just another way of getting you to use someone else's property instead of yours and pay fees for it. A brave new era of techno-feudalism. This is what the Silicon Valley nobility wants. This is the ultimate.
Like, what up, Sig? You can make arguments around, like, and against techno-feudalism, right? Like, I think Varoufakis makes good arguments around techno-feudalism and how that's going to work. These aren't it, right? He is talking about, digital rentierism, but he's talking about how Jeff Bezos is doing digital rentierism to other companies, right? And that kind of dynamic. This is just capitalism, right? Exchanging tokens for goods and services.
Goal. And so far, it looks like they're getting it. So how can we avoid this? The short answer?
This is great. Yeah, I love. Hit me with your pie in the sky fucking response here.
State-run tech is a public option.
Sounds great. Sounds great. We'll just get right out there and have the state take over the data centers and the AI companies. I'm sure that'll happen any day now. I'm sure they're just dying to jump right on that. And it was just Adam something failing to like properly express the idea until today. Is the reason why it hasn't happened. This is fucking lovely.
Publicly controlled open source alternatives to Silicon Valley services. If you want to host data, you can rent space and computational capacity.
Whoa. I can rent space? You mean I can pay a fee for something? Hold up. Hold up. Isn't that choosing one source of hierarchy over another?
From a democratically elected government, guaranteeing independence from Silicon Valley. Or, if we want to get real spicy, we nationalize all data centers above a certain size.
Ah! where where are we on that? You can just, and this is the thing. 100% Stellar Wingman, 100%. Like, we can do stuff. We are capable of doing stuff. We just don't do stuff. And by we, I mean, like, as a whole. Like, again, the government, the federal government is not going to do any of that because they have strong relations with capital. The state government is not going to do that. They have strong relations with capital. Your local government is not going to do any of that because they have strong relationships with capital. The United States just runs on capital. Now, you can, overthrow capitalism, right? And replace it with a democratic system, with equitable distribution and everything else. It's just, where are you in that process? Where is anyone in that process? Any organization, anything at all, right? Like, we're at the very least, by even the most optimistic estimations, we are quite some distance away from that happening, right? And the thing about capitalism is that it's extremely large and extremely adaptable. That's what threw Marx off, right? Marx had this idea that the system was going to do the things, and then the workers were going to do the things, and then eventually they were going to overthrow capitalism, and everything would be worker controlled, and the proletariat and all that. But capitalism found out that it could pay some people more and pay the workers more, right, for a given value of more. And that a bunch of that revolutionary spirit kind of went out the door, right? And then you have the long history of how various aspects of capitalism have demonized and subverted the union. And some unions have done it to themselves as well, right? Let's not gloss over. We look at the things as they exist. We don't pretend that something didn't happen because it happened to our, favorite country or whatever, right? And in that time, like, we have participated in the atomization of our own communities. And that sucks, right? But nobody has a good plan on how to get to the other side of that. Right? Organize. Okay, cool. Right? What does that mean? What does that look like? And I can't use AI to help me do it, because to do that is somehow violating the whatever. Right. I once said something in a leftist chat about how the police union was like the union that many of the leftists wanted, right? Very powerful, gets what it wants, and has tremendous amount of influence, well-paid workers, all of that kind of thing. And it was told it was not like a real union. And so I dropped it, right? Because when we start talking about it's not real AI, right? Okay. So when you're just arbitrarily classifying one thing as another. Now, again, fuck the police. I was 16, 17 years old, something like that, listening to NWA. And it was like, yeah, right? Like there are many reasons to not like the police. Yeah, I don't know. People talk a good game and are very utopian. True, Undyne.
While mandating that data of citizens has to be stored and processed locally, so no moving your servers to Panama or something to avoid regulations.
Define locally, right? What up, straight dope?
Mass storage and processing of data should be a public affair, just like how train tracks are owned by the state in most Western countries. Yep, that's right, it's a train example. Welcome to the channel. The trains running on them may be private, but they pay for track usage and a democratically elected government gets to police them. And I want the same for tech. I don't want tech companies to own the proverbial land. I want a democratic state in charge. Oh my god,
Sounds
would
great.
you just give your data to the government like that? I am so sorry to tell you, but your data is already there, dude. What do you think those Silicon Valley ghouls were doing at Trump's inauguration? Also, what do you think Doge was for? It seems like Elon Musk was the only one stupid enough to believe that it was about efficiency and not just scraping your...
No. Elon Musk was not stupid and believed it was about efficiency. You have to separate what people say with what they do, right? Like, these are two different things, right? You can just get on the internet and tell lies. You can just run your fucking mouth and say whatever the hell you want and then do another thing. It's been proven to be very effective, that to the point where you have people literally denying the things that they see with their own friggin' eyes and telling you that they're seeing something else, which is just demonstrably not there.
data to feed into AI and Palantir.
In another video taken that night, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stops by to chat, but Elon ignores her, captivated by his spoons.
So tech companies...
Yeah, because he was tripping balls, bro. The man's on drugs. The man's on the good drugs you can only buy when you're that fucking wealthy, right? He's not doing that ketamine and Molly that you're getting from that weird dude that you have to like make 6 phone calls and arrange a meeting and, you know, meet him in a parking lot and then drive to another parking lot to meet a guy who's kind of sketch and, you know, like, no. He makes a fucking phone call. What up, Science Politically? Yeah, no, he wanted to grab the data. He wanted to derail all the companies that were investigating him. He wanted to get his AI tools into as much of government as he could. All the things that you guys are saying in chat, you know, he's on that cocaine. Right? Like, this is what he was about. It was massive amounts of data. It was massive amounts of access to stuff. And it was being able to act with a free hand in all his business dealings, among other things. Right? The only problem with it is, like, he annoyed the other fascists and was on drugs on camera in the Oval Office. And, you know, time and place, man, set and setting.
We'll just surrender your data to the government anyway. Your data will end up there no matter what. So in my mind, our best bet is to have a rules-based democratic government which operates an apolitical office overseeing data centers while cutting out unelected Silicon Valley nobility from the equation.
This is great. I love this. This sounds like a wonderful idea, and it sounds utopian as fuck. This is why I don't give a shit. right? When we get into, like, what's your vision? I think that AI has a chance. There's a window. There's a space in which AI and AI development will eventually lead to the downfall of capitalism and has the potential to actually give the communists what they want, right? It has the potential. And well, it just sounds utopian, but look at what you're watching here, right? Adam something who is a very 1.33 million subscribers, a very large YouTube channel as far as I'm concerned, as a little guy, little bean. He's out here with this utopian vision that the government will somehow, out of the fucking blue, just nationalize all the things and have an apolitical ministry. I'm just a little bean. Did that just go in your spank bank? Just made it uncomfortable. Like, what are the chances? What are the fucking chances that this is gonna happen? And why are my utopian visions any more unreal than this?
And no, we the people, grassroots open source BS will not work. Look at Mastodon or Linux, right? LibreOffice though, pretty good.
Wow, he just dunked on Linux. Adam something, hey chat. Adam something just dunked on Linux.
Embrace Slavoj Žižekian democratic centralization theory.
Sir Denimus, if that's true, that's a fucking win, dude.
Because the alternative is a new era of feudalism, but this time also with AI-generated slop. Tons of it. Thank you for watching. If you like my content, please consider becoming a patron or a member here on YouTube. And I'll be seeing you next time.
That's it. Just, here's a bunch of nonsensical arguments and some ahistorical overview, followed by fucking a utopian vision of how we escape from techno-feudalism. Like, that was terrible. All right. I've wanted to watch this. I haven't watched it. It's a couple weeks old. But it sounds interesting.
All right, so this video is going to be kind of insane. Now, we've covered Sakana AI before. They, every once in a while, come out and drop some of the craziest AI and machine learning papers. And usually they're about a certain theme. And the theme is recursively self-improvement.
Yeah, funny that walking stick, right? Right? There's something my father told me many moons ago, many moons ago, was that this king might be great, but it's not about this king, it's about the next king, right? And king is a stand-in for a power structure, because even the most absolute, even Genghis fucking Khan, one of the most absolute monarch types in existence of history, relied on his support structure, right? He was a dude. He's just a regular dude and, you know, can get shanked in the back just like any other regular dude. It's all about the structure. Again, oh, I put it on the shelf. Fucking the book, right? Read the book. There is no absolute monarch who has absolute power of life and death. It's a support structure. It's a whole Cliff Notes. The Cliff Notes would be would be that video. Or yeah, you could grab the PDF and you could put it into oh shit.
Have you ever sat at your desk, looked at your screen, and just thought, what is the point of all this? Well, you are not alone, not by a long shot. This feeling is at the very heart of a really provocative theory by the late anthropologist David Graeber. And today, we're diving into his idea of the bullshit jobs phenomenon. So this whole story really starts with a promise that was broken. Way back in 1930, we were told that thanks to technology, we'd all be working these cushy 15-hour weeks by now. Obviously, that didn't happen. So what went wrong? Why are we all...
Yeah, no, it made the pictures for the video, right? Like the interface sucks.
Still grinding away for 40+ hours a week? And get this, the prediction didn't come from some random person. It came from John Maynard Keynes, one of the sharpest economic minds of the 20th century. He looked at where technology was heading and just logically figured, hey, we won't need to work as much. And you know what? Technically, he was right. We have the capability. So what gives? Now, for a long time, the usual answer was, well, consumerism. We just chose to have more stuff instead of more free time. Fair enough. But then, in 2013, David Graeber dropped an essay that went viral because it suggested something way stranger and, frankly, a little more disturbing was going on. Graeber's theory was both simple and totally shocking. He said that instead of letting technology free us, we just invented a whole bunch of new jobs that are, for all intents and purposes, completely pointless. We created entire fields of work that people secretly believe don't need to exist. I mean, what a claim, right? But it turned out it really hit a nerve with millions of people. And here's where his theory gets some serious backup. When the polling company YouGov actually asked people in the UK about this, the results were just staggering. A full 37% of people were sure their job made no meaningful contribution to the world. Think about that, more than a third. And a similar poll in Holland put that number at 40%. This clearly wasn't just some fringe feeling. This was a thing. Okay, so what did Graeber actually mean by this term?
This is wild. Right? Like, we have reached, now, AI slop and all that, caveat. But this is good, right? This is as good an explainer video about bullshit jobs as, like, this is, and it just made that on it, not on its own, right? Like, I told it to make it. But, like, I could take all the books that go into the post-scarcity paradigm shift, all the PDFs, and I could make the little explainer videos, and I could put them on the YouTube channel. And I could actually get that done. What the fuck? I don't even remember what I was talking about before that happened. Oh, the PDF for the book, put it into Notebook LM and have it make you a fucking video and it will tell you all about the book. And then you should read the book. When I tell you my nephew's life has changed from this stuff, I mean, it literally went from a C to an A student. He put his textbook excerpts through Notebook LM and all. I'm telling you, like, can too much cognitive offloading create a situation where people lose some critical thinking skills and etc. Absolutely. But there's a right way to do it. And if you do it the right way, these things have tremendous upside.
Improving AI. Now, most people are probably already familiar with this concept and what it means, but basically, in a nutshell, there's this theory that is rapidly becoming a reality that at some point AI will be better able to do AI research than humans. So you see this massive improvement in AI abilities that's driven by humans up until a certain point. And now more and more we see examples of sort of this proto-recursive self-improvement. As Sam Altman put it, we're in the larval stages of recursive self-improvement. And when AI becomes...
Okay, so this chart was made in 2023, right? That's the dotted line there. I would like to see the 2026 version of this, right? Give me your updated chart, your updated graph, so I can see what you think we're at now.
Better than humans at doing AI research, something happens. We're not quite sure. We've never seen this before. We've never witnessed anything like it before. But you can think of it as an intelligence explosion. And the gap between that point and superintelligence, the time might be very, very quick. So the moment it starts effectively self-improving, that intelligence explosion, that vertical takeoff, gets us to superintelligence very, very quickly. Obviously, as you can imagine, these are uncharted waters, kind of scary, kind of exciting. We have no idea how that whole thing will unfold. A lot of the papers from Sakana AI deal with this idea of self-play, recursive self-improvement, etc. And the reason this self-play is important is that we found when we teach these AI models on human data, they get pretty good. They get as good as the best data they have available as the best humans. For example, with AlphaGo playing against Lee Sedol, playing the game of Go, etc. But when we make it play itself to try to improve its own abilities, right? So we kind of get two versions of it. They play against each other, trying to adapt their strategies and improving over time. And when they start, we don't even give it any hints or explanations. Like you figure out how to play the game, here are the rules, figure it out. Get good, basically. We see that it does indeed get good and rather quickly, and it gets better than the previous models, better than humans. It gets like a superhuman ability to play that game. So it's almost like us trying to teach it slows it down. It teaching itself makes it superhuman. By the way, I rewatched Terminator 2 the other day. It holds up. Some of these older movies just don't hold up if you're rewatching it now in the modern era. Terminator 2 holds up. It's still kind of awesome. So we kind of know what these models were capable of when it came to self-play and improving its own abilities. And that's been around for a while, but that was usually towards some narrow task like playing chess or playing Go, etc. Then more recently, we got LLMs, which are a little bit more kind of a general purpose. And a lot of the more interesting things that the researchers are doing recently is kind of trying to combine the two. How do we get these self-play, self-improvement things? How do we get LLMs to do that? And that's exactly what Sakana AI did here with a game.
I don't hate T2. I hate the fact that the trailer for T2 spoiled the movie T2. And the arguments made by T2 undermine the arguments made by T1. Right? Terminator, the first movie, was technology getting out of control. And spoilers, by the way, technology getting out of control and killing people. And T2 was the argument that we can use technology to control technology. Right? Just pick a lane, bro.
Game called Core War. Here's kind of what Core War looks like. It doesn't look that great. This game was made apparently in 1984. It's, I don't want to say basic, but I mean, it's kind of like rudimentary, but at the same time, kind of surprisingly deep once you understand all of the things that you can do. All right, so they're calling this the Digital Red Queen, adversarial program evolution in Core War with LLMs. Now, the whole idea of a red queen, if you're not familiar, so apparently it's from Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland, or Alice Through the Looking Glass. So the idea is this red queen is saying, here, it takes all the running you can just to stay in the same place, right? So kind of like a treadmill, you have to run really, really fast just to stay in the same place, or else you're going to fall behind. And if you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast. So I got to say, they have really good naming conventions.
Yeah, Yes. And again, it's not that I don't enjoy movies like Terminator and Terminator 2 and Total Recall, the original, and Judge Dredd, the original, and all those kind of fucking movies, right? Those iconic movies, as James is wont to say. I'm just saying they're not good, right? They're just the Total Recall reboot was better. The RoboCop reboot was better. Fucking Rogue One and Andor are the best Star Wars. Here we go. Oh, yes, but that has no bearing on any of the fucking anything, dude.
For their studies, very memorable. Certainly, this is no exception. So DRQ, Digital Red Queen, is what they're calling it. So, in this video game, Core War is a programming game where
Toy Story. Well, they didn't do a reboot. Ghostbusters 1. Ghostbusters 1 is the only really good Ghostbusters movie. Ghostbusters 2 felt like, in retrospect, felt like fan service. And the reboot was like, okay, right? It wasn't as bad as people said, but it was like, it was okay, right? I didn't watch the most recent one. My argument, I didn't mention Ghostbusters at all. So that Ghostbusters isn't part of my my argument. Toy Story has been making sequels with new technology. I think Toy Story 2 is the best one of those. Been lurking dinner time, and I haven't seen RoboCop remake, but I agree with you with the rest, and the new Judge Dredd is better too. Yes, there are arguments to be made that it is not as Judge Dredd as actual comic book Judge Dredd. I didn't say you were the baddie. You're having an argument with a ghost, homie. But there is a, if you actually read Judge Dredd comic books, it's a different world. And Dredd didn't have to do what they did do in the Judge Dredd, the Sylvester Stallone movie, right? Like when his like absolute following of the law led to his own downfall, kind of thing. And Dredd didn't have to do that, the Carl Urban joint, because it was like bad guys and, you know, good guy cop kind of movie, right? But as a movie, it was just better. It was just good. Yeah, Naked Lunch. I mean, even Naked Lunch, in and of what it was shout out Peter Weller. Peter Weller has been in some absolutely fantastic movies. Screamers, Naked Lunch, RoboCop, right? Stab that dude in the neck with his fucking data spike.
replicating assembly programs called warriors compete for control of a virtual machine. In this dynamic environment where there's no distinction between code and data, warriors must crash opponents while defending themselves to survive. So it took me a second to understand what this game is. It's actually kind of interesting once you fully grasp it. I think a lot of people will miss this paper because they don't understand what the game is, which is unfortunate. So the premise is simple. Before the game starts, you're writing basically some code for this tiny autonomous robot. And this robot is going to go out there in the world and try to kill all the other autonomous robots. And you have to program it to handle every possible scenario because once you release it, you cannot help it. So you write some simple code like this, then you throw it into the world and it goes and it competes and tries to kill every other robot. So basically, to understand the game, imagine like this is a square one, it goes all the way across like this to the very end, and it kind of loops over, right? So let's say it's like 1 to 2000 and it starts over. So it's kind of like just a big circle. And you and the other players, they're kind of randomly thrown somewhere here by the referee, the judge. So you sort of spawn in some random location. So you kind of imagine a grid like this, and let's say the red player gets put over here, and the blue player gets put over here. And you can imagine each of these little lines as a whiteboard that you can write whatever code that you want on. And that code will get executed when it's time for that code to get executed. And in the beginning, each one of these are bombs. Basically, if you execute that code, you sort of die. You lose the game, you crash, whatever you want to call it. And so they're sort of all the way across here. But remember that code for the autonomous robot that you wrote, you're basically able to kind of delete whatever was written here and in the next 4 squares and basically write whatever you want in it, whatever code that you want. All right, so you're writing a code here, 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 basically in every square, the 5 squares containing you and the next 4 squares. And in the next turn, you advance 1 forward and you write that same code on all those squares, so like moving forward. So your player is basically marching forward 1 step at a time, rewriting that same instructions that you gave them at the beginning of the game before the game had started, and just rewriting those instructions, moving forward, kind of advancing 1 at a time. And the blue person did the same thing. Okay, this is where it got a little complicated. It took me a second to understand this, but think of the computer or the referee as basically having 2 hands, like 2 fingers pointing, and one by default, it's pointing at where the blue player started. Let's call it the blue arrow. And the other one is the red arrow pointing at where the red player has started. And just like the player, it moves forward 1 space at the end of the turn. The only trick to it is that whatever code is written in that cell, it executes. So if the code says go back 10 paces, it goes back 10 paces. So you're able to control kind of where it goes and where it does. But if it marches all the way and steps on the bomb, then you lose, right? So if the red arrow, jumps on a square that has the bomb, the red player loses. And the commands can be something like put a bomb down to wherever you're looking, or advance 5, or look at what's in the cell, and if there's no data there, then proceed. If there's data there, then put the bomb down because there's probably a player there. There's also ways to kind of multiply and try to split yourself like a hydra. They call it the hydra in order to be able to do multiple.
Yeah, this is a little difficult to follow, but he's trying to describe something that I've never heard of before.
Commands. But the point is that since 1984, people have been playing this game, competing in this game across the world.
That is wild. Since 1984, people have been playing this game, right? That is impressive.
There's apparently something called the King of the Hill, where you write your code, you submit it to this sort of community, and then your little robot battles against the thousands of other robots, and then you get back kind of its winning percentage. And over time, the leaders emerge, right? So you have certain people that tend to be, at the top. But even if you're a beginner and your code is good, you can still win, you can still dominate. Is basically, can you write this autonomous code that destroys everybody else, or at least, statistically over time wins more often than the other people do. As you can imagine, there's a meta, right? So if everybody is going towards one specific strategy, then, it's kind of like rock, paper, scissors. There might be a different strategy that becomes the current meta because it beats the current most popular sort of meta. But the point here is that humans, or, whatever humans wanted to take part of this, we've been trying to create the best strategy since, 1980.
Yeah, it's coding battlegrounds, but it's the kind of thing you can't live code it, right? You fire and forget. You set it and forget it. And you hope for the best. And that's neat, right? And eventually Because we're about halfway through the video, we're going to get into when AI started doing this, I assume.
Before, people take this very seriously. They play this game. Over time, the best coded human strategies evolve right through this kind of evolution of everybody fighting to be the king of the hill. So what did Sakana AI do? Well, they never showed the large language models anything like this. They had it self-play to try to come up with its own strategies and see if through that kind of evolutionary self-play, it would figure out how to create better strategies than we have in the last, whatever, 40 years. All right, so how well did these large language models do? I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's already complicated as it is. I probably lost a lot of people just explaining the rules of the game.
At least he's aware of it, right?
But I felt it's important to understand how the game is played to understand kind of the complexity of it. There's a lot of strategies, including scanning or just jumping all over the place or just like bombing one square at a time. But what was the point behind this paper? What did they discover? So a couple of things here. First and foremost, as you can imagine, as these LLMs play the battle, write new code, create new warriors, they do improve. And the more rounds they are, the better and better they get. So here, fitness is basically what percentage of the time it's winning against all the various opponents. And a couple of very interesting things emerged. Number one, it beat humans without ever seeing them. Right, so after running many evolutions, sort of 250 iterations of evolution within round, it started beating the human champions without ever encountering them before. So it's able to, in isolation through self-play, develop these strategies, then take these strategies, go to quote unquote the real world, and start just beating everybody there. It also invented or discovered the meta, kind of like the most winningest strategy on its own. So just like humans over decades of playing this game figured out that you can have certain bombing runs that were effective, or for example, self-replication was very effective. So those kind of meta strategies, we took us decades to figure them out. These large language models playing just against themselves over time figured out those meta strategies, again, without seeing them out in the wild, without ever encountering all those other human-made champions. One thing that this experiment kind of proves is that the best way to get these models to be smart, to kind of increase intelligence, isn't just give it a textbook and say, read this and memorize it. Is to actually throw it into an open-ended arms race where it has to improve, where it has to constantly adapt to survive. That's the Red Queen effect. One very interesting thing about this AI is it can kind of read how lethal a different code block is going to be. So it can look at somebody's strategies just at the code. Just by looking at it, it can predict if it's going to be good or bad without ever running the code. Just by looking at it, it can say, whoa, that's a really good autonomous machine, really good warrior. This is one that's going to do very well. Or it's going to look at it and say, that doesn't have a chance. Again, without running that code, just by looking at it. So this kind of suggests that LLMs have a deep sort of intuitive understanding of code logic and the danger or its abilities. And of course, the implications here are huge because this same approach can be used, for example, for cyber defense, to advance cyber defense, to discover real world computer viruses and how to protect against them, right? So instead of having it be taught in what already exists in the world, create these self-play environments where it just discovers it. Because again, it rediscovered all the stuff that humans discovered, all the strategies on its own. So if you do the same thing, but for computer viruses, it's likely going to, over time, be able to figure out the best ever computer viruses, the best ever patches for cybersecurity, etc. I really enjoyed this because previously with games like chess and games like Go, those were human-made games that were created so our brains could understand it. This is a little bit different in that this is what they call a Turing complete sort of environment, meaning that you're able to execute code, therefore you can run any calculation, right? So there's not like 5 moves. Like in chess, there's a certain amount of legal moves you can make. This is a little bit different in that this is just code, right? There's kind of almost an infinite amount of things you can do. I mean, there's a limit, but it's vast. And Turing complete does mean that a certain system or machine, if you give it enough time and memory and resources, that it could run any calculation, right? So there's certain things that are not Turing complete, like a calculator, like a basic calculator is not Turing complete. There's tons of stuff that you can't run on there. You need memory and logic and loops. Weirdly, Minecraft apparently is Turing complete because you see people using those red diamonds in the game to create calculators and LLMs. I had to look it up so you don't think I'm crazy. Redstone is what it's called apparently. So somebody recreated not ChatGPT, but some smaller version of a large language model with.
We never watched a video on this. This was a while back. Because I felt it was a little long and a little boring. But yeah, somebody built a very basic LLM in Minecraft using Redstone. The stuff that people make in Minecraft still to this day blows my mind. Why I will always be a fan of Minecraft.
In Minecraft. So that means that just like AlphaGo and all those series of models, they developed brand new strategies. Like Move 37 was a very famous one, where it was an example of machines kind of having creativity of sorts. Basically, in the match against Lisa Dole, the world champion in the game of Go, AlphaGo made this move that everybody looked like the humans looked at and said, "Oh, whoa, that's a mistake. That's a bad move." Like we thought through our wisdom and our experience and all the games that we've seen, we thought it was a bad move because no human usually plays that move. Of course, later AlphaGo ended up beating Lisa Dole, and looking back at it, we realized, oh, that's actually a pretty good move. It was kind of a pivotal move towards the win. We didn't see the value of it until much, much later. So the big point here, if I have to kind of summarize it, is that machines are able to create things that we as humans didn't come up with or couldn't figure out, or at the very least it's able to, for example, like in this kind of paper, it's able to match a lot of the strategies. It sort of has this convergent evolution of strategies that over time matches the decades and decades of experience that humans did to get to the same conclusion, right? So over decades, thousands of people figure out, oh, these are some of the best strategies. Then we run these LLMs in their little pocket universe. They do a bunch of iterations. They're like, oh yeah, these are the best strategies. And they're right? So decades of humans working together, slowly trying to figure out the strategies, and these large language models kind of rapidly getting to the same place. So I don't know if I did a good job of like explaining.
Yeah, like in a significantly shorter period of time. And that's where, like, because digital timescales are going to be significantly different from traveling through reality at 1 second per second. And you end up with, again, the fact that, like, I am however smart that I am. Would I be smarter if there was another me with which to hash out my arguments with? What about 10? What about 20? What about 1,000? What if there were 1,000 Globuses talking about these ideas before I talked about them with you? Wouldn't they be the most constructed, well-constructed arguments that I could make?
Everything. I hope this captured your attention, captured your imagination. This was really hard to explain, or maybe I'm just overcomplicating. I don't know, but I did want to try it and attempt to try to kind of put this into perspective, because for a lot of the progress that we're seeing with AI, the sort of average person might not be able to tell a difference. Like if ChatGPT got 10 times smarter, would the average person using ChatGPT really be able to tell that it's 10
Lower
times
your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
What up, Endless? What up, y'all? How's the kicky punchy going? I'm Globus the Elder. I talk about AI, automation, robots, and future tech. And we're just wrapping up a video from Wes Roth. I catch you on the YouTubes. Your YouTube shorts are always showing up, so your reach is there. I hope things are going well. Yeah, we're just finishing up on this. I'm actually about to raid out in about 2 minutes, so If you're not into AI, stick around because they're going to send you someplace else. If you are, you know, and y'all should follow Endless because Endless is great. Endless is great. Not just with the kicky and the punchy, but a tremendous mind in that man. Fantastic human being. Amanda Panda Sensei. Welcome in.
Smarter based on the questions that they ask and
I appreciate you,
that
homie.
they have.
Whoop. What I do. Endless has actually been on the stream where Endless and I have talked before. How did I end up fucking everything up?
But at the same time, when we're running things like this, it's becoming kind of obvious that, of course, these LLMs probably couldn't do this a year or two ago, right? So GPT 3.5 definitely would not be able to replicate, the last decades of humans trying to figure out how to play this game effectively. But the new modern models can, right? So the question is, what happens 5 years, 10 years from now? We will be able to understand how it's coming up with those solutions less and less. It'll probably become a little bit more opaque to us, right? If you're interested in, checking out for yourself, they do have a GitHub. It's open source, so you're able to just kind of download everything. I did install this, but now I need to kind of figure out all of this stuff here and see if I can actually run it. Looks like they have a visualization, so you can see how that battle unfolds. And their data set of discovered warriors is coming soon. So I'll be curious if you can kind of grab them from here and then go to the leaderboards. I don't know. I don't even know if they're still running it or not. I mean, I have really no idea if this community is still alive or not, but I'm sure some of them are still running, right? Like, I'm wondering if things like this would just completely destroy this competitive environment because...
No, for the same reason why Alpha, Go didn't destroy Go and Alpha Chess didn't destroy Chess. If you're into a game, right, and you have a connection around a game, the AI coming in and being the best at it is like, that's really wild and that's holy shit and like that. And then you go back to, fighting other people because that's what you want to do in the game, right? You want to beat human beings. I've got friends who are really good at beating the AI in a particular game. And I've got friends who are not good at beating an AI in a particular game. And then they play each other, and this friend might win or that friend might win because playing a human is it's just different and it feels different, I mean, there's always that, but I mean, pick a video game, Nick, and you'll have issues with cheaters,
The large language models will be able to come up with the best possible warrior, the autonomous bot for any given meta, any given competition. How long?
But yeah, shout out meeting in person to play a board game. I'm a fan.
Long as before the top 100 people are using code written by LLMs. Anyways, fun times ahead. Right now, as I'm recording this, everybody's losing their mind over Claude Code. So again, it sounds like the latest iterations of Claude Code and GPT 5.2, I believe. There's some inflection point where it went from good to some inflection point where people are like, oh, okay, there's something really magical happening here. People are just building more and more apps, vibe coding more and more things. And of course, since these models are generally intelligent, that also means that they're going to be better at stuff like this and everything else that requires this sort of thinking. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That helps. Leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.
You know what's scarier than artificial
No. We'll do that tomorrow. Because I will be back. I expect to be back. I don't want to promise, but I expect to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be back tomorrow. Only wait. Near. Who we gonna raid? Bum bum. Who we gonna raid? Bum, bum. No. Thinking Maple. Maple's been out for 31 minutes. Yeah, let's just raid Maple. And I will be back tomorrow. Where'd Maple go? Sunday está Maple Tape. If you don't know Maple, you should be following Maple. They're awesome individual, great voice. Now has a longer beard than I do. And just an all around fantastic human being. Yeah. So I expect to be back tomorrow. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot, and always remember that Shoggy loves you. So do I. Be great.
Grassroots movement.